So here I am with the amazing Derek Mills from Think and Grow Rich, the movie. It stemmed from Think and Grow Rich, the book by Napoleon Hill. And when I saw Derek speak in the movie for Think and Grow Rich, I just resonated with his message for so many reasons, which we will unfold as the interview unfolds.
Time to lock up, and I said, just give me 10 more minutes. And then he walked away, and I just stood up and went to the filing cabinet and looked at a few files. Who could I call for a bit of business? And then he came back again, and I said, well, just give me 2 more minutes. And then in that moment, he asked me a question, and this one question changed the whole of my life.
Yeah, I'm Derek Mills, and otherwise known as the standards guy, because my philosophy for happiness and success is around living by authentic daily standards set from within, and about being true to yourself. It's also the fact that when we recognise our own truth, the gifts that are within begin to flow out into our lives. And that sounds a bit fluffy, I know, but when you put that into your business, into your structures, into your family, into your health, into your career, it changes absolutely everything, including the bottom line. And that's what I did, and that's what I do.
Okay,
Yeah.
So we're here at your office, and you come in, welcomed us in. And even before we got to the office, I want to go back to you, Derek, as a child.
Okay.
What was life like for you growing up?
Well, growing up, it was fun, actually.
Yeah.
I grew up with 6 brothers and sisters.
Wow.
So I'm child number 5, but
Okay.
bigger sisters and brothers and younger sisters and brothers, and really, really good fun. In our life, we had mum and dad who worked evenings and nights. We were very close. We played together, and we were kind of our own best friends. Everything changed for me when I got to 13. Just got home from school one day and noticed that all the house is full of family and full of friends and neighbours. And as I just looked around the room and trying to figure this out, looked out the window, because my mum always gets off the bus at the same time. We go home from school, she gets off the bus, and I see her walking across the road. And as I was looking out of the curtain to see where she was, and the bus came and went, and she wasn't on it. And I also then noticed one of our family friends, was running up the road, and Joyce, her name was, and Joyce kind of ran up the road, past the window, just burst into the house and said, Mavis is dead. And then she just broke down crying. So my fun, happy childhood came to an end in that moment, because that's how I found out my mother had died that day in hospital. And that changed everything.
Of course.
And it's from there I developed some trauma. I became very insular. I stopped speaking for a while. When I did begin to speak, I spoke with a severe stutter, and I didn't get rid of that till I was about 30.
Got to unpack what you've just. There's so many amazing things you've just said. You grew up in a good family environment, good relationships with your parents. You come home one day at the age of 13, and everybody's in the house, and then Joyce, I think you said.
Yeah, mum's friend Joyce.
Yeah. She, I receive it as she blurts out.
Yeah, she did.
That Mavis, she's just died.
Yeah.
And you're 13.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah. Thing is, it was the way it was delivered, as in I knew I was in hospital for a routine operation.
Okay.
And then having someone just burst in and say that, and then collapse crying, and then I remember going to bed that night, and actually, you know what? It was so unbelievable that I didn't believe it.
Yeah.
And I remember why I did it, I don't actually know, but I remember trying to hide. I was half under the bed, holding onto the frame, willing myself, desperate to get to sleep. When you forgot to sleep, when I woke up, it would just be a dream.
Yeah.
But that night, I dreamt my mum was alive, and it was a dream.
Yeah.
But actually, when I woke up, clearly it wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was a desperation of, no, this is, you know what, I knew it wasn't real.
Yeah.
Yet it was.
Yes, I understand. I mean, adults would deal with it in that particular way, let alone you being a child, learn having to manage these emotions.
Yeah.
And then you went from being 13, one day being able to speak fluidly, and the next day not being able to.
Indeed.
And then from that point onwards, you got on with life, of course, as best as you could, I'm imagining.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, because you're the man who's all about personal development. Were there conversations about this, about how to deal with your emotions, or Do you know what I mean?
That's such a fascinating question, and I pray and hope.
Yeah.
When I look at social media and I wonder whether what we say is correct. I
Yeah.
hope that it's better now than it was.
Yeah.
Because nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing was said.
Yeah.
I went to school after my mum's funeral,
Yeah.
and I remember being in the class the very first day at school. You know when they got the book and it's your turn to read, and you're going around the class, and I was kind of literally couldn't get my words out. I managed just to blurt out, "Can't speak."
Yeah.
And then buried my head, and people were laughing and giggling as kids do, you know. And but then you have this problem. But actually, no one said, "Oh, are you okay?" And no one took me for counselling. No one said, "Let's go and see a speech therapist." Like my family, because it was different than those
Yeah, I understand.
days. Just got on with it.
You just got on with it.
And at school, no one asked me. I don't remember having a single word of counselling and what you do. People gave me sympathy and friends with whatever, but no counselling. And I pray that it's different today. Yeah. If a young person loses a loved one, whether it be a sibling or a parent, that there's some kind of school, some part of school society or mental health that can reach out to that person and say, look, you may be okay, but right now, if you need support, think about this, talk to us, it's okay to cry, whatever it might be. Whatever the training is.
Yeah, exactly. Just to come to terms, or
just come to terms with it.
Just to know that somebody's there for you.
Just when I have such an obvious affliction that I've developed incredibly quickly, and confidence shot, and just like can't speak. And I was once asked to introduce someone to a group of new potential recruits at the company I used to work for, and I was like, well, you can't be me. I can't speak. It's not me. It's you got to wait or get somebody else. But God just said, or the universe just said, it's you.
Yes.
It's your turn, stand up. So I had to do this introduction to this group of potential recruits, and it was awful. I stood there and I sweated and I stuttered and spluttered. I don't know what I said. And I eventually pointed out the door to say to the guy who was outside waiting to present, I said, introduced his name with a stutter. And then I had to sit in the room as he did his presentation, having just totally humiliated myself in front of these new people. The funny thing is though, that was it's one of the best things ever happened. In the moment, it was the worst thing. You want the ground to just swallow you up. Just please, just take me now. Whatever happens, emergency somewhere, just get me out of this room. The call never came. What did come was a letter about a month later from this young lady who didn't get the role. The role I had a job at the company, she didn't. And she wrote in this letter, dear Mr. Mills. She told me how good she was, how great she was, what she's achieved and her qualifications, and she finished the letter by saying, and you didn't understand how someone like you, I quote, someone like you can be working the company, someone who can't even speak properly and, I quote, babbled incoherently, can be working the company, and I can't, that's what she said. And nice. it's the weirdest thing. But, I'd love to meet her and now give her the biggest hug. But in the moment, wasn't feeling that way.
No.
But the funny thing is, though, in that moment, she was trying to tell me what I was and what I wasn't. But I made a decision in that moment to say, actually, you know what? She is right. Her intentions are wrong. But she's right in the fact I couldn't speak properly. So
that took wisdom for you to think about it in this particular way.
It was just a moment, and we have many moments. Is whether we pay attention to them or not, or whether we just look at the pot of gold and walk on. So I then just thought to myself, actually, she's right. So I'm going to learn to speak properly for the second time, and that's what I did. So I started going to speaking classes, people like Dale Carnegie, and others. I didn't go to stuttering classes.
No, that's what I mean. You went to something conventional.
Exactly. If I went to, I didn't go to stuttering class. I didn't want to be a stutterer. I went to speaking classes. I wanted to learn to speak.
Now that is wisdom.
That's the thing that I did, and then I was at 25, so I was a grown man learning to speak again. I'd got through in my job, but you know what? I always knew. I'd fake it out by saying, well, because I stutter and I babble, people would have to lean in and pay more attention to me because they're not. So I told myself that's what was happening, and I said it's okay, I can stutter because they're going to have to listen more intently and listen to my ideas. It was just a lie. I couldn't speak properly. But what I did do is I started from 25 to about 30. By the time I got to 30, you wouldn't have called me a stutterer. No. So everything changed.
Over 5 years. Wow.
What you need to do to achieve your goals is you have to set daily standards and live by those standards. Set standards from who you are, authentically from yourself, and be that person just one day at a time.